Catch Texas in Color every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Ronald G with Texas in Color. Texas in Color is here to educate all the voters in the state of Texas. And we are honored to have guests on throughout Texas who are running for office in the state of Texas. And the only way to get the word out is we utilize this platform that we hear to get the word out to everybody. This is what we are doing. And I am honored to have, I got two guests on today. So I'm going to let Crystal introduce herself.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today, Ronald. I am thrilled to be on your show. My name is Crystal Chisholm. I am born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I am a combat veteran. I also serve in the city of DeSoto, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas, in Dallas County, as a city council member. Most recently, I was elected to chair the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats in Dallas County. I'm excited about that. The coalition's been inactive for a couple of years here in Dallas, and it's a very pivotal time for us to reconnect and organize. So I could go on and on and on about me, but I'll just stop right there. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, and also we got Sabrina Robinson right here. I think she comes on to make sure I stay on track. No, I'm just kidding. She just she inspired me for this program right here. So I gotta say thank you, Sabrina, for that.
You're welcome, Ron.
Okay. Now let's get down to you being elected to that office right now. What are your plans for that chapter going forward?
Thank you. That's a great question. The coalition in Dallas County has a very rich history. They have been at the forefront of many initiatives in Texas that have advanced the Black voice in the party as well as in the state. So for me, knowing that they've been inactive for so long is one, creating the infrastructure that we need in order to be successful, putting the right people in place, creating the right alliances across Dallas County to elevate our voice, but also organizing at just the community level, bringing together Black Democrats in Dallas County so that we have a place that we can go to not only hold our elected officials accountable that have said that they are after and about that life as it relates to the Black agenda in Dallas County and North Texas, but also to make sure that our voices are heard at the state party level, and that we're represented at the state party level and in the House in Austin. So and then over the next year or two, however long the Lord sees me in this seat, that is going to be my initiative, doing the groundwork that we need to do to come back together again and be the strong coalition that it once was.
You know, something just happened the other day. You're up in that neck of the woods that a judge decided to do, if I get this right, decided to do things without the Democrats being there. Setting, what was he saying? You remember what he was doing? I gotta look it up. It just came to me.
I don't know what judge you're talking about. Was
Uh,
it in Dallas County?
in Tarrant County.
Oh, yes, the commissioner
Yeah, he decided to
closed some. Oh, yeah, with the
yeah.
commissioners. So they decided to close a few of the voting polls in at some of the colleges like our UTA and Tarrant County College and things like that. And the argument around it was because they were within a mile of each other, and it's not the commissioner's court responsibility to make it easy for certain demographics to vote. I think that's what he was saying. It should just be access and accessibility to vote. Tarrant County is a different beast from Dallas County. We have our separate issues, but one thing that concerns me about Tarrant County electeds, especially those who are on the Republican side of the House, is that they do have that master slavery mentality. And so what I can appreciate was the two commissioners that are African American that are pushing back and saying, no, it is about accessibility. Some of those kids don't have vehicles to leave campus, and they should have just as easy access as anybody else to cast their vote this upcoming election. I think we're living in a strange time when we're closing polling locations, and we're using it as a means to make it more efficient and not accessible, is the terminology that's being used, because I'm sure there are other areas on that budget that he can cut costs versus looking at it from a polling location perspective.
And if it wasn't election
But,
time, he never would have done that.
Exactly.
but that's why it's so important that we educate our voters on participating in the local elections, because your county commissioner is the one who ultimately decides on where these polling locations are. So if your commissioner is not advocating for you to have these polling locations within the law, they are able to move polling locations around. And like Madam President said, students, especially around October and November, that's midterm.
Yeah.
They are not going to be traveling or commuting away from campus when they got exams. So why not allow these students to have these polling locations on campus to make them, or allow them the opportunity to exercise their constitutional right, even though that's not necessarily considered constitutional, which is interesting. So that's why we need to educate our voters on being present during the commissioner court's meetings, because that's where they decide this information. And if we don't know what the laws are, the policies and procedures, they will be able to do things that are not constitutional. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, Crystal. And Ron also, thank you.
Yeah, because we discuss this all the time. It starts at the local level. And and from what I gather, a lot of people don't even know what the commissioner does. A lot of people don't know what the council member does. They just know they elect and put them in there. But in the school board, they control a lot of what goes on in the community. And the more they know, the better they're informed about who they're going to vote for. So, speaking about council, you're running for a second term. Is that right, in DeSoto?
Actually, I won my second term this
it.
past May.
Okay.
Yes. I'm excited and blessed. We have 2-term limits, so I'm on the second side of this, and I'm trying to finish strong for sure.
Okay. So, with you there for the second term that you're there, what is your agenda and in serving the council and the community? What is your agenda? Is it something you haven't completed your first term, or something you want to bring out in your second term?
Absolutely. So being on the city council is very interesting because there's no training, there's no playbook. You get in and you learn by fire, really. And so I spent at least my first year just trying to learn how everything worked, talking to staff, talking to residents, hosting meetings across the city, going to any type of training class I can get myself in to just understand policy, understand what works best in some communities that could possibly work best in ours. And so I was successful in bringing forth some policies and ordinances that have better our community. And now really what I find my focus in, and I didn't think that I would be in this place, usually when you jump into politics, people always ask you, well, what's your thing, right? And I was like, well, I'm not a one issue type of person. There are several things in the community that I find interesting. I mean, DeSoto is 68% African American. There are things that I can find in the city to go after. So, but however, I say all that to say public safety has been something that I have been really engulfed in most recently. I just recently proposed to the city council that we look at how we use mental health and or we address mental health and homelessness in our community, because even though we're a suburb, we need to be mindful of it as it relates to, is this something we just throw police at, or is there other opportunities? And I've found through research that there are other ways to handle these type of calls through a crisis support team, where you're not, having an armed police officer go out, but you're having trained professionals go out to answer these type of nonviolent calls. Not only do they lower your crime, but also also it creates that environment of trust, and you're getting real-time help for those individuals that need it the most. So that's something I just recently proposed to a council, and I got a unanimous support for it. So we're looking now at how do we phase this out into our community, looking at funding opportunities for that as well. And so some other initiatives that I've been looking at is how do we stop like the unnecessary pullover that the police do. Typically if you get pulled over for like a non-traffic violation, it usually turns into something more. I'm partnering with an organization that will partner with us to do grants, like give coupons out to fix your light if your light is out. And so instead of creating a financial deficit for someone who gets pulled over and gets a ticket for, having a light out, they'll get a coupon to go visit a mechanic right here in the city to get the light replaced. And so I have my chief who is a supporter of it, and as well as this organization that I've seen do it not only in San Antonio, but in other states. And so we're going to roll that out hopefully by the end of the year. We've been working on it for quite some time. And that'll be another initiative that I push around public safety. We know that, we've seen the George Floyds, we've seen the Breonna Taylors, and when you live in a community that's predominantly African American and majority minority, I think that it's advantageous for us as elected leaders and community leaders to always be thinking about ways to create more of a community relationship with public safety. And it doesn't always take, I don't believe in throwing police at everything. I also know that we in our community, we know that we want to feel safe too. We want the police, right? So how do we find that balance? And how do we create proactiveness opportunities versus the reactive response of just throwing police at the situation and never really solving anything?
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Listen to you talk. It seemed like you leading into my next question without me even asking it. What is your opinion about Texas politics, and are you going to run for a state office?
Texas politics is ratchet right now. I get asked that a lot, and honestly, I have tried to remain as humble and in this role that I can possibly be, and really look at it as a public servant seat. So I haven't planned out that far in my life. I'm trying to let the Lord lead me there. And when I say that, people like, whatever, but it's true. Like, I think that as elected officials, it's a fine line to get too much ambition about the next level because you forget where you are. And even on the corporate side of my professional life, I have always been one. I need to complete the assignment in a nice little bow and give it over before I can even think about what's next in that. So I can't really answer that, but I can tell you the landscape of politics in Texas, while it's ratchet, is promising. I think that we are seeing ourselves more purple than anything. And so for me, and me living and being from Dallas County, I mean, my whole commissioner court is Democratic. Our Dallas County courts are, full of Democrats. I think that I live in a county where opportunity is great, but also talent is great. So that doesn't also leave much room in Texas politics. We have, our leaders who have been in the seats, for decades, who have not decided to leave. And with respect to that, I believe that tenure offers some opportunity for us too, because they know what we don't. And what I try to make a good step in doing is reaching out. Like, I don't ever want to be in this space where I think I know everything. So I reach out to the Commissioner Prices of the world. I reach out to the state reps, Yvonne Davises of the world, because I know that they know what I don't know. And sitting under them and soaking up as much as I can only help me, not hinder me. So I probably didn't answer your question, but that's my take on Texas politics.
Well, you did, and because the Republicans been in control for 29 years. 29 years, and they come up with new twists on how they're gonna do things. And I told somebody the other day, We didn't realize, but they had their playbook already written.
Already
They,
winning, and we live in the defense, and they've been playing offense forever.
mm-hmm,
And you know what's crazy? Texas has the most black Americans in the state. Like no other state has as many population of black people as we do. And if all we have to do is just organize and vote, right? And,
right.
and that's it. And we have the House, we have the state. Like we take over.
Yeah.
So, Crystal, with that, what does that look like for us to organize? We're in different parts of the state. I'm in East Texas. You're in the DFW. We know in the last, gosh, what, 2, 3 cycles, they have been attacking Harris County because that is our largest Democratic stronghold. And now we are seeing attacks being in Dallas County, and Tarrant County. So, from your perspective, being on the city council, what does organizing and mobilizing look like for us in our communities?
That's a really great question, and I've thought long and hard about that. I think it's just at the root of us having a plan, a plan that we all will push together. We've seen it in cities where we have collectively pushed certain policies at the same time, whether it was paid leave in our city at the city level, which was a contentious conversation, or it was creating laws around public safety, like the eight that can't wait when George Floyd passed. When we talk about what I've also seen is organizations like the NAACP organize at a state level just for voting. And that's really what we need. We need a leader out there that's saying, hey, these things matter to Black Americans in Texas, and whether we're on the east, west, south, and north, and having those ambassadors in those areas to help organize, coming together and talking about, okay, this is what matters to us, and not having that crab in the bucket mentality where one thought we feel is better than the other, or I can't do it because such and such is involved in it. No, we have to be on one accord, which has historically been our problem as people, like just having the same game plan moving forward. It can happen. And I think that we're seeing it now just in this election as the NAACP is organizing at a state level. I think it's beautiful to see hundreds of us on one call talking about training around door knocking, training around phone banking. At the basic level, that's how we organize one another to go out and do the work. We don't know how to do the work, so we first got to learn how to get out and mobilize and train and talk to
Right.
the average voter, and then having that collective agenda to move it forward. We work in silos, and really what's happening in Houston is an issue that's going to make its way to Dallas eventually, and to the east and west of us.
Yeah. Oh, well,
That's very true.
yeah. You brought up one thing. You heard what happened here in Bexar County, Frio County, a few weeks ago, when they decided to give a search warrant to this 87-year-old lady and had her standing outside in her nightgown. They refused to let her go in and put on a robe. But anyway, from one prosecutor saying, I think there's something funny going on down there. So they went on and scared this lady, and they came in, they took everything out of her house, all her electronics. They have not arrested her yet, no charges brought up, but to me, that was intimidation. They went there and intimidate the Hispanic populations, because back in the days when they did that, people were scared to go out and vote for what happened. And they're using that same tactic right now. And I reported all they did was woke up a sleepy giant. That's all they did, because we're not taking it anymore. It doesn't matter. We're minorities. We're together. And we got to fight together what's going on. And what Ken Paston did the other day, to me, it was elderly abuse on what they did.
You're right.
And that went on.
An abuse of power, Ron.
Yes.
Because that's all it was.
And then he's going around answering no questions now. He did what he had to do. He put a scare tactic out there. Things are going to happen. I told somebody a while back, the closer it get to election time, the more the ugliness is going to come out. And
people don't realize unity is our superpower. We have strength in numbers. And if we all come together, we could throw a mighty blow. But we have to come together. Like Crystal said, we cannot work in silos. We can't say we're not going to work with this person because it's bigger than us. And if we don't come together, it's going to affect all of us. And some on the other side as well. It's not just the people of color, because also economics play a lot in this as well. Yes. So even though there are people that are not of color, your economic status, they look at you almost as a person of color. So what affect me is going to affect a lot of them as well. Mm-hmm. So we have to have these honest conversations, like President Harris said. You know, we have a lot more in common than differences. And if we remove the D and the R out the conversation, you will be surprised the disparities we all are experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Literally, we all. I mean, we live in a state that hasn't increased the minimum wage in decades, right? We all are seeing in our school districts where there is a disparity of teachers. And a lot of that is due to they're not paid to what they should be paid. Right. And people say, well, that's not the governor's fault. I've seen comments about that. But yeah, it is. When you have a surplus of a budget and you can literally do what you want with it, you can definitely create some type of incentive program, some type of retirement program. You can do a whole lot with that money and put it right back into educators' hands. When we look at the school board of education right now in Texas and everything that they've tried to do, from watering down the word slavery to just trying to eliminate certain subjects for us, I think that it's a book bans and things like that. We live in a time where we can relate to more than we know. We all want to have a decent job that pays us, and where we don't have to have 5 or 6 jobs just to do it. Because I shouldn't have to do Uber Eats and work my 9 to 5 and a part-time just to make it. Mm-hmm. We all have the same ask around here. We just get caught up in the D and the R, to your point. Yeah. We get caught up in, this is what I've heard a lot too. Well, I'm down for the Democratic Party, but I'm not down for, transgenders in sports that my baby in, because I don't think that that's fair. Or we get caught up in, why are we making abortion like a thing? And I hear it, like I was born and raised in a church, so I get it. And it's not, my thing has always been, I don't have room to judge, because nor do I have the capacity to tell you how to live your life. What I can tell you are the issues that are before us beyond those things, such as the Supreme Court and who goes in those seats, crime, economic development in my community. I can talk to you about more than just those 2 issues and make a educated decision on who I want to lead, not just this state, but this country.
You hit a point right there. People choose what topic that I'm not voting for them because of this specific topic, because of this specific issue. That's the reason I'm not voting for them. But what they're not doing is looking at the overall picture. That's just one thing right there. What about the overall picture that outweighs? You brought up minimum wages. I work for a company, and I went into that company, and so many people are still getting paid $7.25 an hour. Mm-hmm. I jumped up and said, this got to change. And the company said, no, that's not in the budget. And I looked at them, I said, how come it's not in the budget? Look at the windfall you're getting every year. You can't give the $10, $12 an hour. I fought it. They got it because I fought it, because I've been there. See, a lot of people don't know. Here, I'm getting ready to get on a tangent right now. A lot of people don't know. Ask some of those politicians, do they know what an iron is? Do they know what an ironing board is? Have they ever been shopping? They talking about they know the American people, and I'm telling you right now, no, in the hell they don't. They don't know what it takes.
You done started something now. Hold on. You done started something now. I know, but these same companies who won't give a raise, their business has profited over 110%. Yes. They families ain't hurting for no money. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to pay their workers that has provided them the wealth that they receive. Now, come on, Ron, you finna start something now.
I know it. I mean, I was all riled up the other day when I was talking about that. What do you know how to use it? I say they talking about they know the American people. They know what they want. Have they ever been to a grocery store? Have they ever picked up their kid from daycare? Look at the basic things that the middle class do. They have to budget to get things. They gotta, okay, we can't go out this time around because we don't have the money. They have the luxury to do whatever they want to do. If you want to sit down and talk to the American people, talk to them about the basic needs that they need, and they're forgetting all about that.
I agree.
Because they don't apply to them.
Yep.
They can't relate to it. So they're not going to address those issues because it does not directly affect them. And they use a lot of words to bait people emotionally to pin them against one another. And it's crazy to me, but did you bring up childcare? Because childcare costs is through the roof. If you have more than one child, even one child, it costs a lot of money to put your child in daycare, especially if they need full-time care. Mm-hmm. So imagine getting, my Lord, imagine getting $7.25 an hour to go to work, to pay for childcare, and you don't even have any money to pay your bills, to pay for the childcare that you need to go to work, to pay your bills. Make it make sense.
And that childcare you paying, you could buy a house.
You better say it.
So, all right, boy, I'm sorry about that, but we just got going. First thing I gotta thank you and your husband for serving the military, for doing things for us. Utmost respect for anybody joining the military to defend our country and the Constitution. My hat is off to you and your husband, for doing that. Which leads me to this question right here. We're not supposed to bring politics into Arlington Cemetery. That was just plain blatantly wrong, obnoxious,
disrespectful,
just disrespectful. And for him to say, well, they asked me to do this, see, that's just way out. If you notice, he never says I did it, except for one thing he said he did, but we'll get into that later. But what is your take on that on sacred grounds?
I think that to your point, we're not supposed to bring politics into a situation like that. It's really sad, the burial process for anyone who has served our country should be a very solemn moment of respect, because whether they're active or they've retired or they're anything, the sacrifice that they had to make in order for us all to have our liberties, I stand strong on that. Those grounds, that while they're not holy grounds, right, I think that they, to some respect, they are due more than what we saw most recently. And what I hope is that I really hope that the powers that be find a way to create some kind of policy around it. For me, I always look at, when I find problems, I know that one day I won't be in this seat anymore. And so, or no, any seat that I have. And so for me, it's like, certainly I can be the voice of reason, but what happens when my voice has transitioned on to something else? That policy will always be there. And so I hope that the powers that be will find some kind of way to make sure that that doesn't ever happen again.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you on that, because we have gone a little buck wild with being entitled to do what you want to do, and there's no consequences held for it. And that's step number one. Start holding people accountable for all the foolishness that they're doing. And we're not doing it now. We're too busy chasing people and subpoena people for this, have nothing to do with what's going on. So somewhere along the line, you got to be held accountable. I want to back up. I forgot. I didn't ask you this one question that was on the tip of my tongue when we first started. I forgot to ask you this one important question. What made you run for office and get into politics?
Oh, that's a good question. The seat. So when I didn't grow up in politics. I don't even remember my mom voting. Like we didn't talk about. We were an extremely religious house. We talked about Jesus on the cross, and we talked about that 7 days a week. I when I joined the military, I then became involved because it literally dictated my first deployment and my second deployment to Iraq. Um, I will say that when I moved to DeSoto, it was very like this is a very engaging community. And I found myself unemployed, and I was twiddling my thumbs. And there were a few judges that needed help with their election, and I jumped in and helped them. And then after that, my council member was needing help with a few things, and I started helping her. And when she decided not to run for reelection, she nudged me. And there's this statistic that says you have to ask a woman at least 8 times to run for office before they would even consider it. And I believe it's true. I literally got nudged from everybody. And I think that was just because from a corporate perspective, I've managed for years, prior service. So I have that I'm a self-starter. I will serve and I will do the work. But for politics, I was scared I was going to end up cussing somebody out, to be honest with you. I was like, I'm saved, but I ain't
Still under
don't try
construction.
me
I
now.
hear you back. I hear you.
But that hasn't been my portion on my case. Praise God. But I will say that I wanted to make sure that this community knew that you could have a leader that had integrity, one that you can trust, and one that was going to be about the work. And honestly, I didn't think that there was anybody that had the level of passion that I have to do the job. So I put my name in the hat, and I had two opponents. My first race. And I had an opponent in my last race. I was the only contested race on the ballot this past May. Neither of those things stopped me. So
Did you win your first time?
yes, I ran.
Okay.
I ran and won 62% of the vote. I didn't have to worry about a runoff. And that was just doing the hard work of engaging with residents, doing block walk, phone banking. I tried to leave no stone unturned as it related to the people of DeSoto and what they wanted to see and what they wanted out of their next elected official.
Now,
Okay.
Madam President, you said you won 60% of the vote and you had two opponents. So it was
Mhm.
three of you
It
in
was
that
three.
race and you won 60%.
Yes, I didn't have any major endorsements. I just did it
Wow.
just grassroots.
Now that speaks volumes because it's quite challenging to get 60% because usually when there's three people that usually constitute a runoff. It's almost automatic. And for
Right.
Yeah.
you to supersede that 51% at 60, that speaks a lot about your character.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. And I didn't do, I had a lot, my family and friends really showed up for me. I hosted block walks. They would show up and we hit the ground together. It was definitely a joint effort of those that support and believe in me. I hadn't been in the city long either. I can't even say that. I think at that time I maybe had been in DeSoto 5 years. So for that, I think it was just that and then the work that I had been doing that really spoke for me. And then I mean, I am what I consider myself a pretty down to earth person. And I try to remain that way. I'm very approachable. I pick up the phone and answer. I take meetings with anybody, and I have maintained that throughout this time. So I think a lot of that just played a part. And DeSoto voters are not stupid. They do their homework. They're very engaged. They see who's been working, not people that just jump off the couch and decide to run. So they're a very engaging group.
That's good to hear. All
Mhm.
right. I'm gonna hit you with this question. I figure in the back of your mind I was gonna ask this question. Um, the debate last night. What do you think about that debate last night?
I think that if anybody watched that debate and thought that Trump was an option and still thinks that way, they need to be committed as well. I think that our Vice President Harris really showed how brilliant she is, what an amazing prosecutor she was, because he was on the stand last night, and he failed for everything that came his way. I think that she looked as though she belonged there. She looked very, I love how, they say women can be emotional. I think that she showed that she can be a leader and not show emotion in that respect, but passion rather, and compassion. Um, she was very graceful. I think that is also something that I admire as well. It wasn't harsh. She didn't have to be extra masculine. She operated in her own aura, and it was a beautiful thing to see. She took notes. She gave great points. I would have liked to see both of them expand on policy more.
Oh, yes.
But I think that considering he said that he only had concepts of a
Oh
plan
yeah.
and not even a
Mm-hmm.
plan, I will take what she did provide to us, or what she plans to do for small businesses, what she wanted to do for um, families with young children, what she wants to do for our economy, as well as international relationships. She talked a lot about her plans and things she wanted to do. And I hope that helps shut up, which I'm sure it won't, those who have said, but she has no policies. She has no policies. I think she
Right.
said a lot last night, more than what he said.
Yep.
Absolutely. And also to point out, a lot of people blame her for what President Biden and the Biden administration has implemented and has done. And true enough, she is the vice president, but her duties as vice president is to be the leader of the Senate. Everything else is kind of, a courtesy. I know President Biden did appoint her to the border, which is a very hard issue that we are addressing. But one thing that, like you said, Crystal, that they didn't kind of go into depths about, it was mentioned that immigrants are coming to this country in busloads. Who is loading them on the bus? Who is bringing them to these cities? I know our
Republican.
sent them to Chicago,
New
to
York. Yeah.
Ohio, to Colorado. Same thing with DeSantis in Florida. But no one, mentions that or talk about that. And one thing that she pointed out, and he never even acknowledged, she said that they had a policy on the floor that would have given more money to the Border Patrol to
Right.
address the issues. And he called to have that policy struck down, and he didn't even acknowledge the question, and the moderators didn't even make him answer it. I thought that spoke volumes.
Yeah, just so he could run on the issue, not solve the problem. And I think that that was a great point she conveyed. I was talking to one of my close friends who's a judge in Dallas County, and I told her, I said, what's most interesting is that if he was any other shade than beige, he wouldn't even be on that platform.
Right.
He's been convicted of egregious crimes, right? Not just from economic, but also has been accused of sexually assaulting women. He has also lied to the American people. He has interfered in an election. He's done everything that you can possibly think that and call it immoral, and yet he gets to sit on that stage and run
He
for office.
incited an
Yes.
insurrection on U.S. soil at our capital.
Yes, and he has no plan. He has a concept of a plan, and he will
This is the former president.
still get a vote. And I just thought that I think that really speaks to how we still have biased mentality in our country, and we
Right.
see there is still a white privilege that exists, because how the
They want to
audacity,
acknowledge it or not. You're
the
right.
audacity.
Right. The point that got me yesterday, I was bowling last night and I had my AirPods on and I was watching it. My turn to come to bowl, and I go up there, I'm listening to it, and I'm getting ready to bowl. I stopped, backed off the lane, put my head down. Everybody thought something was wrong with me. Ron, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I just heard something I didn't believe. And they said, well, it was, nah, you have to see it, because I didn't know who was what. I didn't want to start anything. But what stopped me dead in my tracks is when he said the Haitians are eating cats and dogs.
Now that was just disrespectful.
I stopped dead in my tracks. Said, "You're kidding me." He automatically just lose votes just for saying that.
It's so racist. It is.
But you know that has been and we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to acknowledge it, and we want to rewrite history or eliminate it. They have dehumanized people of color, Black people, because we were the original immigrants. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Statue of Liberty, at her feet are shackles. That represented us. And if you look at history, they have dehumanized us to the point where even now we are always looked at negatively. Yeah. Nothing we do or everything that we do, we always have a negative connotation to it. And it's unfortunate because, you know, we literally built this country into what it is today. And we have to work 10 times harder than everyone else and still get the short end of the stick. Those individuals are coming here for the freedoms and liberties that started this country, yet and still it's not offered to all of us.
To your point, Vice President Harris is a first generation American. You know, her parents were both immigrants. And so the success that she's been able to attain just, you know, from just her, you know, ambition and drive and determination, yet you have people that will insult her and say that she had sex to get to where she is, or she's unintelligent, she doesn't know anything. I think that is, to your point, it shows that there's this Black tax that will never go away, and even when we do everything right, people will still have something to say.
Just like the ladies in Harris County, the judges down there that were elected, they want to question them. Do they have the credentials to be there? They were elected to the office. Why you question them now? They've been there.
Now, Ron, you do know in the last legislative session that was a policy that was voted on that went into law for the incumbents to be able to charge their challengers to get them off the ballot so they don't even have to run an election. And that's why education is so important, that we need to learn policies, because that's where it starts, and also at the local level, because they can't get to the top without the people at the bottom. And we got to get that foundation going. But they literally voted that into law that they are able to challenge their opponents, regardless of their educational status, their experience, and all of that. And like you said, how dare you even question my experience or ability to serve when I'm already serving in that capacity?
Right. And they do that. That's that old mentality, trying to keep us back, trying to hold us down. And you can't do it. It's a new time in a new world. People are not going to put up with that. Just like you said earlier, if we get everybody together in Texas, all minorities together, it isn't anything we couldn't accomplish.
Absolutely.
And back the right candidate and go from there. That's all I have to say about that one. Well, we've been going, boy. This been good, lively conversation today. I like it. Crystal, once again, congratulations to you. I should say, was it Madam President? Congratulations. We need youth there. See, I'm an old dude from the old days, but I remember how it was growing up in the Chicago area, protesting, doing all that. I seen all that. And when I see all this come, I said, didn't we go through that in the 60s? Why are we going through it again? It doesn't make any sense. They're
trying to take us back and we're not going.
Yeah. Like I said, we're not going back. We're moving forward. And we need youth, just like you, coming up in the ranks and let everybody know what's going on, educating. And that's what we need to do. We need to continue educating the voters, because I tell you, I talked to 2 Black men here in San Antonio that have never voted.
Wow.
And I asked them why. You know what they said? My vote don't count.
Because they've been brainwashed to believe that.
But I hit them back with something they couldn't refuse. I said, you got kids? Yeah. You got grandkids? Yeah. You're voting for their future. I just put it point blank like that. I didn't
And to
say.
your,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to just say, I think we get caught up in that electoral process. However, at a local level, it's vote for vote. And I've seen people lose a race by one vote. And when you talk about local level, like the city council, I mean, I try to break it down to, if you want to make it about the police, who hires the police chief? Your city manager. Well, who hires that city manager? Your city
Council.
council. If you
Yes.
get a ticket and you in your city and you have to go before the municipal court, 9 times out of 10, that municipal judge is an employee of the city council as well. If you have an issue with the streets in your city or the parks, if you're not 5 minutes within a park in your city and they don't have an initiative to try to make a park 5 minutes from you, then that's your city council, because they manage your budget. There are so many aspects to just the quality of our life that I have been opened up to just by the privilege of being on the council that I never considered before. And when we say our vote doesn't count, your vote counts more at this level of local government than on any other level. And the truth of the matter, I probably would say it matters even more than your presidential election, because they are creating your ordinances, and the laws right in your own town that you live in, versus the bickering we see down on Pennsylvania Avenue, back and forth.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we let you go, you want any last words? How people get a hold of you, or anything you want to drop? Let everybody know
I,
about.
Yes, if you are in Dallas County, I would love for you to just give a chance to think about spending some time with the Coalition of Black Democrats. We are hosting our first general meeting since our election, next Thursday at 6:30. We're going to be in Dallas, at the Bluebird headquarters. That is the Democrat office, remote office that's at the on Camp Wisdom, where the Redbird Mall is located. I have an Eventbrite out for that as well. It's posted in our Facebook group. You can follow us on Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, Dallas County on Facebook. There's a public page as well as a private. Please reach out to both. My name is Crystal Chisholm. You can find me on Facebook as well as Instagram at Crystal Chisholm. I'm on Twitter at Crystal D Chisholm. Thank you again for inviting me, Ron and Sabrina. I enjoyed your conversation with you both. And let's make sure that we make history in November. Like the First Lady said, Michelle Obama, do something.
Yes. Uh, I gotta talk to you on something. This has nothing to do with politics. I just gotta bring this up. You have a high school team there, the girls in DeSoto, Texas. I met some of them twice here at the finals in San Antonio, playing against my granddaughter's team, Clark. Y'all beat us the first time around and won state, but we got y'all the second time around for state. So I remember those DeSoto girls coming out playing, and I was just amazed. The high school team that they had there in DeSoto, Texas. So I got to bring that up. Y'all beat us once, we got y'all again. So if there's a part three somewhere down the line, we're going to make a little bet down the line.
Well, you probably want to check those records because they got a couple of state
Oh, I
championships.
know they
But
do.
yeah, but we just recently lost our basketball coach last year. She went to another school, so I'm not
Really?
sure what this season holds for us. But we are known as the sports capital. Our football team is basically a dynasty. They have won state the last 3 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like Friday night football, DeSoto is also another great team to stay tuned into watching. Actually, they have a radio station that follows them too.
Okay, look, I don't woke her up. See, I'd
Yeah.
never seen the light come on right, right there. Okay, well, Madam President, I appreciate you taking time out. Um, Sabrina, I appreciate you coming on. One thing to let everybody know, we will have this replay in about a couple of hours on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Texas in Color. So make sure you do that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you. You guys take care.
All right. Thank you for watching Texas in Color. Please tune in every Wednesday at 11 a.m. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button so you'll be notified each and every time we go on live.